Jeff Blauser, who's been battling it all year, but Jeff had a good night last night with a couple of doubles.
Here's the 1-1 on the way. It's a breaking ball, stayed high, 2-1. Braves had optional batting practice today. I noticed Jeff was one of the few who took advantage of it. He has been working to try to get out of that batting slump. Here's the 2-1. High and away, ball 3, 3-1.
Something about that batting practice today, too. When he was the first one out, he had Clarence Jones throwing to him, and he had Pat Corrales standing behind him, and the other coaches weren't too far away. He was getting some tips from a lot of different people today. You'd think, well, that might confuse him. I don't think so.
3-1 the count on Justice with McGriff at first, nobody out. Fouled off, it's full now, 3-2. Yankees wound up scoring 4 in the top half of the first inning at Toronto. The Blue Jays now at bat.
They had to be juiced up after that 9th inning homer by Kelly yesterday, so they carried it over into today's game.
There goes McGriff on the 3-2 pitch. It's fouled off again. Still a full count on Justice.
Can tell that Malicki's throwing pretty hard. David's been fouling a lot of balls off to the left side. Trying to guard the plate a little bit too, make sure he doesn't pull off a pitch, but this guy can bring it.
Again the 3-2 into center field. Coming on is Everett. He'll make the catch. Back to first goes McGriff. One down. Ball was hit hard, but right at the center fielder. One away, and that'll bring up Ryan Klesko. Hit a long home run here last night. His 23rd of the year. If you look out in right field where the Mets bullpen is located, it's 358 feet to the fence. Then there's the bullpen area. Then there's another fence. There are people walking behind that other fence right now. That's where Klesko's ball went, over that second fence.
He's had a great month of September.
A runner at first, one down. 1 ball, no strikes.
You want to finish the season strong, and he is doing just that. 9 home runs and 69 at bats.
He also made a great catch last night, taking a home run away from Carl Everett.
I think it was his best overall game of the year, Pete. Not only did he hit a long homer, make a home run saving catch, but in the 9th inning, he legged out an infield hit deep to short, and I mean, he was busting it down the line and just beat the throw by Vizcaino.
2-0 the count on Klesko.
Talking to a bunch of his teammates today before the ball game, that was the one point that really stuck with everybody, was how hard he was hustling in the 9th.
He fooled you with his speed. Usually big home run hitters don't run that well, but Ryan's not that slow. He runs pretty well. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Foul back, the count 2-1. He's doing a Beach Boys number on the Mets this year. He's batting .409 against them. Here's the 2-1. Fly ball down the line in left. Ryan Thompson into foul territory. Can't quite get to it. Just watching Ryan Thompson the last couple of nights, Joe, playing in left field, he looks a little uncomfortable out there. He's normally a center fielder. I'm not sure he's quite comfortable yet with the way a ball slices a little bit when it goes out toward left off a left-handed bat.
Ball down the line last night. He went over there. It was almost like he was more concerned about the bleachers than the baseball, and it dropped about 10 feet behind him in foul territory. And on that ball, he broke back on Klesko's pop-up, and that's why he wasn't able to get to it. And you're right, he's usually their center fielder.
2-2 the count. One man out. McGriff at first. Up and in, and just getting out of the way, Ryan Klesko. Full count, 3-2.
It's a little scary in light of what happened to Andres Galarraga and Kirby Puckett the past week, I should say, but Ryan was able to get out of the way and then lost his balance. But like those two hitters, he also dives into the plate.
Runner not going. The 3-2 is outside. Ball 4. Klesko walks. Runners at first and second now. First walk issued by Malicki. And the batter will be Charlie O'Brien. Hitting .222 for the year. He has 9 homers and 23 runs driven in. You talk about pitching inside. That man you just saw in your picture, Dallas Green, when he was pitching, he'd give you a little chin music every now and then.
Well, he always has liked players who play hard, not afraid to get their uniform dirty, be aggressive.
In for a strike, the count 0-1.
We talked about the Philadelphia Phillies a couple of years ago and their success being a reflection of Jim Fregosi. I think you'll see next year this Mets club very much a reflection of Dallas Green.
1 out, runners first and second. And the 0-1 pitch to O'Brien is a breaking ball on the inside corner for a strike, 0-2. Into right center field. Long run for Ochoa, but he gets to it. Good running catch. Runners have to hold. 2 men gone.
That pitch, a good pitch, good fastball away from Charlie that he tried to hit the other way, which is good. But these Mets pitchers all have been contributing to their success in the second half, especially in September. Better ERA even than Atlanta in this past month. And they've got what people claim to be their best young prospect still down in AAA. He was not recalled. That's Paul Wilson.
Here's Blauser. 2 hits last night, including both of them doubles, in fact. 211 for the year with 12 home runs. He takes inside, ball 1. He had gone 0 for 17 before that 2 for 3 night last night.
A lot of what Jeff was working on, or appeared to be working on today in the cage, was hitting the ball to right center field.
Malicki's 1-0 pitch. Called a strike by Mark Hirschbeck, and the count even. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now the 1-1 on the way, and the breaking ball's a beauty. It caught the inside corner. It's 1-2 now on Blauser.
But I guarantee you, Pete, these are the kinds of guys like O'Brien and Blauser. You go into postseason, the other teams are worried so much about McGriff or Chipper Jones or Flesko. Suddenly the guy that may have had the roughest year is a guy that steps up and has the best playoff.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Just outside, 2-2.
Lemke back in '91 in the World Series. A Gene Tennis, who was the World Series MVP for the A's back in the '70s.
Here's the 2-2. Grounded down that third base line. That's a fair ball off the glove of Alfonso. McGriff around third. He will score. Now the ball's picked up by a fan out there. So it'll go as a double. A run is in, and Jeff Blauser with his 3rd hit in the series and his 31st RBI in the year. 1-0 Atlanta.
All of this is confidence building too. This ball was not scalded by any means, but it was a breaking ball, and he waited for it and hit it right down the line, and Alfonso got a little leather on it, but just enough to slow it down. And not only does he get his 3rd double of the series, but puts the Braves on top.
Steve Avery batting .216. He has a couple of home runs this year. He's driven in 4. Runners second and third. 1 run in, 2 men out. Upstairs, ball 1. Pitch is popped foul. He had a good cut. 1 ball, 1 strike. You talk about the makeup of this Mets team and how it's changed. Charlie O'Brien last night walking over to the Mets side of the field, and everybody seeing that scene would assume that Charlie was going over to say hello to some of his former Met teammates. He actually played with the Mets just 2 years ago. He was going over to say hello to Billy Spears, who he played with in Milwaukee. He doesn't know many of these Mets anymore. Inside corner, 1-2. Now the 1-2 on the way. Foul back. Count stays, a ball and 2 strikes.
Got a piece of Todd Hundley. People will tell you that for next year, at least from an offensive standpoint, the Mets are going to need somebody bat cleanup or somewhere in the middle of their lineup, and maybe another leadoff guy. Pitching wise, they should be okay.
That's all for Avery. Strikeout number 2 of the day for Melicky, but the Braves on the board on an RBI double by Jeff Blauser, and we go to the bottom half of inning 2. 1-0 Atlanta.
Jeff Blauser gives the Braves a 1-0 lead. We go to the bottom of the second. This telecast authorized under broadcasting rights granted by the Atlanta National League Baseball Club is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, retransmission of the pictures or descriptions of this game without the express written consent of the Atlanta National League Baseball Club is prohibited.
Marquise Grissom back to haul in the fly ball off the bat of Rico Brogna, who drove in 3 runs here last night. 1 pitch, 1 out in the bottom of the second.
Folks around here calling him Rico Suave.
Rico Suave. He's had a good year. Brogna 290 coming in with 22 home runs and 75 RBIs.
Well, they're 4th in the league. I believe it's 4th in the league in batting average as a team. 5th in the league, right behind Colorado, Houston, San Diego, and Cincinnati.
Line away to Todd Hundley, ball 1. He's at 280 for the year with 15 home runs.
You got Kent, Brogna with 20 home runs or better. Hundley with 15.
On the ground, Chipper Jones' ball took a funny hop as it kicked off the edge of the infield grass, and down to second base goes Hundley. Chipper Jones anticipating the big hop, but that ball hit right on the lip of the infield grass and skidded right between his legs. It's going to be a double.
Shouldn't be. This is a big league ball game, Pete. Big league players are supposed to make big league plays, and anytime a ball goes through a big league player's legs, that's an error. Unbelievable.
So a little bit of hometown scoring perhaps giving Hundley a double. He's at second with 1 out. Edgardo Alfonzo, the batter, hitting 280 with 4 home runs. You know, you don't think about major league players. Normally when you talk about the instructional league, you don't think about major league players going to the instructional league. It's usually guys from rookie league ball or Class A, but there will be 2 New York Mets going to the instructional league as soon as the season wraps up on Sunday. Alfonso, one of them, to continue to work on getting himself back into condition. He had a herniated disc which kept him out of action. And the other one, kind of an interesting one, Tim Bogar is going to go to the instructional league and work as a catcher.
He is a very solid utility player, and certainly wouldn't hurt for him to learn to do that and be an emergency catcher.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. High and away on Alfonso. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I like this guy a lot. Good hands when he uses his hands very well in his swing, I should say. Question is he better off playing second base, which is his natural position, and should they move Jeff Kent to third? Kent does not want to move, but it might help them defensively.
Hundley down at second with 1 out. The 1-2 is high and away, 2-2. Update on that. Yankees scored now in the second inning with the Yanks leading 4-1 over the Blue Jays.
Alfonso hitting .321 with runners in scoring position. And like so many other natives of Venezuela, wearing number 13.
Here's the 2-2. Got him outside corner. Good fastball from Avery. He records his first strikeout. Alfonso caught looking, 2 down.
Probably the best fastball he has thrown. He put a little extra on this one and hit the target right on the outside corner. Good pitch.
2 away now. The left fielder Ryan Thompson batting .254 for the year with 7 home runs. A ball and no strikes on Thompson. Stairs 2-0. Trying to cut down Thompson's strikeouts. One of the things they've got him doing is trying to lay off the high fastball. That's been the pitch that he's been vulnerable to in the past. It's 3-0.
And despite a pretty good season, even though he's been saddled with injuries off and on during the year, reports about how this team might be put together next year may not include him. Got a lot of young outfielders to pick from.
There's a strike to count 3-1. Braves leading at 1-0. We're in the bottom half of inning 2. 2 men out. And Todd Hundley, the runner at second. Here's the 3-1 delivery. He walked him outside. Second walk issued by Avery. Runners now at first and second. The batter will be the pitcher, Dave Mlicki.
Yes.
He is 2 for 38 this year.
Steve was not going to make a mistake there with a guy on deck that only has 2 hits all season.
Outfield shallow and around toward right. He's been high with a lot of his fastballs.
Yeah. Not sure if he is his stride is the same as he has had of late. Maybe this mound's a little bit higher, which might be causing that. Charlie ought to have a word with him.
Liam Mazzoni has found a seat in the sun down there in the corner of the Braves dugout. A little cool today here at Shea with that wind blowing in. Good fastball there. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He is throwing very hard. But hasn't he become more aggressive in the last 3 games, Pete? Instead of picking around trying to find corners, moving the ball mostly away from hitters, he has gone right after people the last 3 games.
1 ball, 2 strikes. And again, the plans for Steve in the first round of the playoffs, he'll work out of the bullpen. Bobby Cox did say yesterday he will attempt to avoid bringing Avery in the middle of an inning out of the bullpen. He'd like him to come in and start an inning if he's going to be used, because he's never pitched out there before. Here's the 1-2 pitch, low and inside, 2-2. But if the Braves get to the league championship series, then Avery would return as the number 4 starter.
But if he's down there in the bullpen with Merker and Bourbon, look at this. You'd kind of like their chances if they were brought in to pitch to left-handed hitters. Nobody having a whole lot of success from the left side.
2-2, the count of Mlicki with 2 outs. It's full, 3-2.
Pretty good pitch.
Don't want to walk this guy.
No. Nope. Right down the middle of the plate.
Runners on the move. 3-2 pitch is fouled off. And Mlicki stays alive. Again, the runners on the move. The 3-2 again to Mlicki. Strike 3 call on the outside corner. Avery records his second strikeout and gets out of the inning. No runs, a hit, 2 left. We've played 2 at Shea with our score: Atlanta 1, New York 0.
1-0 Braves through 2 innings. Tomorrow, the NFL on TNT is back. Coverage begins with Coors Light Pro Football tonight at 7 o'clock. Then join Vern Lundquist and Pat Hayden as the Oakland Raiders take on the New York Jets at 8 o'clock. Don't miss the NFL action Sunday on TNT.
Going to the top of the 3rd with the Braves leading at 1-0. Very loose ball club right now, having clinched the division 3 weeks ago, and just kind of relaxing and enjoying life these last 3 weeks before the playoff pressure begins.
Good they can laugh about that ground ball that went between Chipper's legs now. It was ruled a double somehow.
Marquise Grissom grounded out to 3rd his first time up. Fouls back the first one, the count 0-1.
Again, going after the first pitch. not trying to feel for the ball at all. He is cutting the bat loose.
Here's the 0-1. Pop foul back out of play. 0-2. The 0-2 on the way is fouled away once more. It's still 0-2 on Marquise Grissom.
Marquise has got a little streak going of his own. 4 straight years he has stolen 30 bases or more. He's got 29 going into play today.
Another 0-2. He chased a bad pitch. Breaking ball was down and away. It's the 3rd strikeout for Melicky. 1 out in the 3rd. Now Mark Lemke, who grounded out to short his first time up. Way outside, ball 1.
Is there a more popular guy on this team among his mates than Mark Lemke?
Is there a more entertaining guy on a trip than
No.
Mark?
No.
Into center field. It's going to hang up though for Everett, or will it? No, he trapped the ball out there. And Lemke's aboard with a 1-out single. Looked like the ball was going to hang up for Everett to get to. Then it suddenly dove. That ball might have been knuckling a little bit.
It's funny, the balls hit the left center seem to be hanging up, and the balls to right center are carrying. Mark hit this ball right on the nose. Everett was playing shallow, and a good call by Frank Pulley. Ball did bounce into the glove.
That is hit number 3, and now we're going to get a pinch runner. Mark Lemke gets the rest of the day off, and Mike Mordecai will go in to run for him. So get your pencils ready, folks, if you're keeping score on this one. We're going to have a lot of names in here before the day is through, I have a feeling. Bobby Cox saying the other day it's almost like spring training the last couple of weeks. He's been able to give his regulars a rest, get his guys off the bench, get them 2 or 3 at bats in some games, work his pitchers an inning at a time, not necessarily in situations, but just to get them the work they need.
Well, and Mark Lemke, probably more than any other Braves player, has the attention of Bobby Cox from an injury standpoint. He knows he's nursing some sore legs, and he, more than anyone, wants to make sure that he gets him out of there early enough that he doesn't risk hurting himself again.
Here's the 2-0 to Chipper Jones outside, ball 3, 3-0.
I love David in the dugout. Last night Klesko hit that 450-foot bomb to right field.
Chipper Jones draws a walk on 4 straight.
David was sitting by him talking about, yeah, you hit it way no, over that other fence, over that one. Lemke's sitting there and he's talking about how he got some top hand on that line drive to center. He's always around whoever just got the hit.
Right.
You got to like that.
First and second with 1 out now for Fred McGriff, who had a base hit up the middle his first time up. Braves leading it 1-0.
Ooh.
1 ball, no strikes.
A high curveball. One more of those, please, says Mr. McGriff.
Here's the 1-0. That misses outside. 2-0 now, the count of McGriff.
His home run last night came to left center field and it was juiced.
Fouled off, the count, 2 balls and a strike. Now the 2-1 offering way high with a fastball. 3-1.
Like he got a slider 2-0. Let's see what Malicki does here. 3-1. He gives in to him.
Jones the runner at first. Mordecai down at second. On the ground left side and through into left field. Base hit. Mordecai around third being waved home. Here's Ryan Thompson's throw. It will be late. And it's now 2-0 Atlanta. RBI number 93 of the year for Fred McGriff.
I swear the pitch just before that pitch was thrown, as Hundley threw ball 3 back to Malicki, he pointed over to the left side of the diamond, almost like he wanted Alfonso to get off the line more and plug up this hole. They run a fastball up and away from him. Fred hits the ball right in that hole. And you can see Alfonso was quite a bit off the line to begin with, but Fred burns him for an RBI, his 93rd.
2-0 Atlanta now. Pitching coach Greg Pavlik out to the mound with David Justice due up next. Still only 1 out in the inning. We're going to get some bullpen activity. Looks like Blas Minor, a right-hander. That's who it is. And now David Justice will step in. He flied out to center his first time up.
Last part of the game has been plaguing Houston. The first part of the game has been no problem. They've already taken a 3-0 lead over Chicago, still batting in the first.
Back out of play, 0-1 the count on David. The Astros trying to bounce back. The Yankees trying to hang on to their wild card lead. Astros are a game behind Colorado in the wild card race.
They got Shane Reynolds on the mound. Frank Castillo pitching for the Cubs.
Breaking ball caught the inside corner. It's 0-2 on Justice.
2 good curveballs.
Another one. This one is grounded foul on the right side. 0-2. If you want to see a good curveball, tune in tomorrow. Jason Isringhausen on the mound for the Mets against John Smoltz in the regular season finale.
He's won over 20 games this year.
Yep, 9 of them at the major league level. Was honored before the game today as the International League Rookie of the Year and the International League Pitcher of the Year. Here's the 0-2. Outside, 1-2. There's Jason. He'll be out there on the mound going for his 10th win for the Mets tomorrow afternoon.
And I believe his 9th straight.
Up the middle, that is going to be fielded by Vizcaino. A little flip toss and a barehanded grab by Jeff Kent. Good play on both ends. 2 down. Moving over to third, Chipper Jones.
Good thing there was a runner at first, or I don't think Vizcaino would have had a play on Justice. And a barehanded catch by Kent for the out.
2 away with runners at the corners, and the batter will be Ryan Klesko, who drew a walk his first time up.
Let's see if he starts Ryan with that curveball like he did Justice. Nope.
Nope. Gave him a fastball away. 1 ball, no strikes. A mile in the air. Foul territory. Battling the sun. The catcher, Todd Hundley, stays with it, makes the catch. And that's it for Atlanta in the top of the third. Braves add 1 more to their lead and a Fred McGriff RBI single. We go to the bottom half of the third. 2-0 Atlanta. Braves leading at 2-0, and already the changes have begun here this afternoon for Bobby Cox. Dwight Smith takes over for Ryan Klesko in left field. We have a new center fielder, Mike Devereaux, and Mike Mordecai, who pinch ran for Mark Lemke, stays in the game at second. Leading it off for New York, Alex Ochoa, who grounded out to first his first time up.
Pete, this accomplishes so much for Atlanta. Not only does it give the starters a little rest, gets them a couple of at-bats, but more importantly, it gives the guys that are going to be on the bench 2 or 3 at-bats, and they will all be ready to go when the postseason gets here. They will all have picked up an extra 20 at-bats or so over the last week that they might not have ordinarily gotten in a big pennant race.
1 ball, no strikes on Ochoa. Little tap toward the left side. Barehanded grab by Chipper Jones on the first, and McGriff hold the bag. Yes, he did. Good play. 1 down.
Chipper may have been having a little trouble lately with the glove, but not on this play. He has made this play time and time again this year, barehanding the ball and throwing out a runner, whether it was on a bunt or a swinging bunt.
Vizcaino flying to right his first time up, trying to extend a 10-game hitting streak here this afternoon. Takes a strike in the outside corner. A .352 average against left-handed pitching this year. Outside corner again, 0-2.
There you have a young player that's ready to break through to the big league level named Ray Ortnes. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Supposed to be a spectacular shortstop. Ozzie Smith type. What happens if he's ready to go next spring? What do you do with Vizcaino?
That's a nice problem to have.
Yes, it is.
1-2 the count. Outside 2-2. He can remember just a couple of years ago when the New York Mets were shaking their heads over their infield defense. 2-2 on the way. It's low and the count full. 3-2. It's one of the few teams, their infield defense was so thin. It's one of the few teams where I ever heard a manager say he was putting a player in a position because he didn't think a ball would be hit there all day on the ground. He played Howard Johnson at shortstop when Sid Fernandez was pitching because Fernandez gave up mostly pop flies and he didn't think to be many ground balls hit Howard's way.
Thinking ahead.
3-2 pitch on the way, and it's hit foul out of play right side. Still 3-2. He walked him, and that's the 3rd walk issued by Avery. It'll bring up Carl Everett, who walked in the first inning.
You know what, though? They've been walks on fastballs, as I recall. Not trying to trick anybody, just been a little bit off with his fastball, and that's nothing to really complain about, not after the way he's been pitching.
Unlike Vizcaino, Everett has struggled against left-hand pitching this year. Just a .216 average against southpaws. A ball and no strikes.
Compared to the rest of his teammates, this guy has gotten the job done better than anyone in terms of RBIs to at-bats. Was acquired from the Florida Marlins for Kilvio Veras. Good trade for both sides.
Runner going to a pitch, cut on miss, throw down by O'Brien, and did he get him? Yeah, no, he didn't.
Oh,
that was close.
That was a play that was not ruled an out because the throw was too short of the bag, but Blauser made a terrific catch, and it looked like he got Vizcaino. It just looked like, from Frank Pulley's perspective, that he was just lucky to catch the ball, but he got him. Nice play.
So Vizcaino winds up with a stolen base. The count 2-1 now in Everett. Good changeup had Everett way out in front. The count even 2-2. That was Vizcaino's 8th stolen base of the year. Here's the 2-2. If it works once, try it again. 3rd strikeout for Avery. 2 gone in the bottom of the 3rd. That'll bring up Jeff Kent.
Second baseman.
Good breaking ball. He threw that one just a little bit shorter than the one before, and Everett still went after it. Like it dropped right on top of the plate.
Now Jeff Kent, who grounded out to short his first time up. Another one of those hitters. We've seen a couple of them lately. We saw it with Barry Larkin when Greg Maddux was pitching, and we see it now with Jeff Kent when Steve Avery is on the mound. Chipper Jones is camped right on the line at third.
He gives you a lot of good production from his second base spot, especially in home runs. But if you're unwilling to move to help the team and maybe play a different position, then he may find himself not wearing pinstripes next year.
1 ball, 1 strike, 2 men out.
And if that's the case, there'll probably be a lot of teams calling Joe McIlvaine wanting to know what the cost is.
Here's the 1-1. Fly ball hit out to right. Justice back under it. And that's all for New York in the third. So another walk issued by Avery, but that's all. They strand the runner at second. At the end of 3, it's still 2-0 Atlanta. Braves leading at 2-0 as we go to the top half of the 4th inning. Let's give you today's Aflac trivia question. It's a good one today. Who's the only pitcher in the Hall of Fame with a losing record? And if you think about it, I think you might come up with it. We'll have the answer for you in the bottom half of the inning.
Charlie O'Brien will lead it off for the Braves in the 4th inning. O'Brien, Blauser, and Avery. Malicki delivers a strike. Charlie flied to right his first time up. Fastball out of the range of Vizcaino. Base hit for O'Brien. Charlie just fought it off, and that's one that Vizcaino couldn't reach.
Shortstop Jeff Blauser.
Off the end of the bat a little bit. Hit number 5 off of Malicki.
Frank Pulley could have caught it. Blauser hit his 3rd double in 2 nights. His first time up and drove in the Braves' first run. This is his 16th double of the year. Good fastball strike. The Mets got Malicki from the Indians in a deal that sent Jeremy Burnitz to the Tribe. Curveball 0-2. Mets got Malicki and Jerry Dipoto and Paul Bird for Burnitz, Joe Roa, and Jesus Aruje. That's playable for Ochoa, who's got it 1 out. Steve Avery struck out his first time up, but he has a double, a triple, and 2 home runs to his credit this year. Mostly because he has a good theory on hitting, Pete. Swing hard in case you hit it. He is bunting here. Takes a strike. Good thing, too, because Alfonso and Bronya were right on top of him. The outfield very shallow, especially Everett in center and Thompson in left. What was that? Balk?
That's
had to be.
balk, yes.
He started into his delivery, and as he kicked his leg up, he wanted to step off and couldn't. Must have lost his balance.
Yep, he tried to step off while his leg was still in the air. It's hard to do.
That's a hard one, especially hard to get by the umpires. Charlie O'Brien noticed too. Tried to pull the ball to the right side, but came up empty. 0-2. First balk committed by Malicki this year. 1-2. Mike Devereaux on deck. Steve 11 for 52 on the year, and that curveball got him. He has struck out twice. That is 4 strikeouts for Malicki.
Center fielder, Mark Devereaux.
Devereaux at 260 with the Braves. A homer, 7 RBIs. He had hit 10 home runs before joining Atlanta. For the Sox. Breaking ball outside. Fastball's got some good life on it, Pete. It got some good movement. Has been starting it outside, bringing it over the outside corner to the right-handed hitters. Bobby Jones did that a lot last night. Devereaux takes that pitch to the other field, goes the opposite way, and that's going to get Charlie O'Brien home. Mike Devereaux picks up the RBI, and the Braves are on top 3-0. For Mike, his 8th RBI as a Brave. Good hitting there.
Second baseman, Mike Mordecai.
You see where Hundley is set up outside. That's where Malicki puts it, and all Devereaux tried to do is make contact and hit it the other way, which he did. Picks up his 8th RBI as a Brave. It's now 3-0.
And Mordecai gets his first at bat of the day. He pinch ran for Lemke last inning. He's had a good year, hitting .286, 3 homers, 11 RBIs. Mordecai with 20 hits this year, 9 of them for extra bases, 6 doubles, 3 homers. There goes Devereaux. The pitch is outside, and Hundley can't cut it loose. Devereaux with his 2nd stolen base as a Brave.
He stole this on Malicki. You see a 4 or 4.5 step jump.
Maybe that's why Hundley decided better just eat that one. 1-1 to Mordecai. 2-1.
You know, they're talking about a new ballpark here.
Really?
The New York Mets. Talking about a domed stadium. Which would
Why?
house. Well, that's what the question everybody was asking was when they were hearing about it on the bus ride yesterday.
2-1 pitch. Driven into left center field. Everett going back, still going. It's up into the sun, but makes the catch to end the inning. Mordecai gave it a ride, but not quite enough to get it out of here. Braves get a run on 2 hits, 1 left. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Atlanta on top by 3. Crowd favorite Rico Brogna swings at the first pitch of the 4th inning for the Mets and fouls it off. 0-1. Brogna went after the first pitch back in the 2nd inning and flied to center. You want to compare his numbers to Fred McGriff. He has 5 fewer homers, 18 fewer RBIs, a little better batting average, pretty good production. And at the beginning of the season, he wasn't hitting against left-handed pitchers either, Pete.
No.
Seems to be doing all right in that department too. Holding his own anyway. .230 average.
Well, that stadium business, one of the reasons they are talking about potentially building a dome stadium that would house the Mets would be to entice the New York Jets back into New York from across over in New Jersey. And also would enable New York to bid on such things as the Super Bowl, which they can't do now because of the weather.
Boy, 2 straight pitches. Charlie O'Brien was about to throw that breaking ball to third base for called strike 3. Didn't get the call and maybe got penalized for doing that. Struck him out anyway. Charlie looks back at Hirschbeck like, now can I throw it to third?
Let's answer our Aflac trivia question. Who's the only pitcher in the Hall of Fame with a losing record? And the answer is Rollie Fingers. 4 games under 500, but he had the 341 career saves, which got him in. Now, before you start calling, some of you trivia fanatics, Satchel Paige also had a losing record in the major leagues, but he was inducted into the Hall of Fame for his contributions in both the major leagues and the Negro leagues. But purely as a major leaguer, Rollie Fingers, the only one with a losing record.
Todd Hundley stepped out as Avery was into his windup, but Avery did not have to stop. Hirschbeck did not give him time. Hundley got a gift double his first time up. Hit the ball right between Chipper Jones' legs. 286 hitter right-handed, 278 left-handed. 3 homers right-handed, 12 left-handed. You can see quite a bit different stance too. Right-handed, left-handed stance, he's up on top of the plate, that left foot almost out of the batter's box and almost facing the pitcher. Right-handed, he's a little more closed. Charlie O'Brien got nailed with that foul tip. Two and 2 to Hundley. That hit. Now wouldn't that be something? What if Avery goes on? He's walked a few guys today. He's walked 3, but what if we get to the 7th or 8th inning, he's still out there and he's allowed that 1 hit?
Well, it was tainted. It was that ground ball that Hundley hit right between the legs of Chipper Jones, which both you and I believe should have been scored an error. Good curveball. Big bite to that one.
Big old hook. Edgardo Alfonzo took a call, 3rd strike, a good fastball on the outside corner first time around. And they're having trouble catching up to the fastball, Pete. No secret about that. Oh, and 2. Mets have won 4 in a row overall, 9 in a row here at Shea Stadium. 24 strikeouts in the last 19 innings. And that's against the Braves, the Reds, and the Phillies. And 2 against Houston. Boy, good inning for Avery. Struck out the side. He's got 6 on the day. We've played 4, and Atlanta leads it 3-0.
Atlanta Braves baseball, brought to you by Honda, the inventor of all-terrain vehicles, and by Mylanta.
Steve Avery pitching a great ball game has shut out the Mets on a very tainted hit that came back in the 2nd inning. Chipper Jones starts the 5th for Atlanta. Takes a strike. Chipper has walked and struck out. Braves with single runs in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th inning. Bobby checking with Steve, make sure he feels all right. Go another inning or 2.
Yeah, Bobby's been limiting pitchers to about 90 pitches, his starting pitchers anyway. And Steve Avery has thrown 75 over the first 4 innings. Wants to make sure he doesn't feel worn out. I think the way Steve has thrown the last 3 games, he could go out there and pitch all day.
Tommy Glavine told me yesterday on the bus he'd like to throw about 70 or 80 pitches. He told me today in the clubhouse, he said, I just didn't know they were all going to come in the 1st and 2nd inning. Tough play for Vizcaino on the run. Got him. Nice play. 1 out.
I want to remind you the tickets for all scheduled home games of the Division Series and the National League Championship Series are still on sale to the public. You can get them at Ticketmaster or at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium Gate G. That's the number to call, 249-6400, or from out of town 1-800-326-4000. If you are purchasing postseason tickets in person at the stadium, only a cashier's check, money order, or cash will be accepted. They're sold on an individual game basis and are subject to availability.
Fred McGriff has a base hit and an RBI. In fact, he is 2 for 2 and has scored a run. And his average at 281 on the year. And when you're 2 for 2 and you're ahead 3-0 and you've got a 2-0 count,
why not?
I say roll up your sleeves a little, go for it. But the curveball fooled him, and it's 2-1. Go for it again, Fred. Deep in the box. Popped him up. Bronya comes in and has it. 2 down. And the at-bats dwindling down for Fred as he needs 3 more for 30 homers.
Right fielder David Justice.
Isn't it a shame, though, that a string of years like Fred McGriff has had, if he doesn't get the 30, and it's going to be awfully tough to do that, isn't it a shame that a string would come to an end only because probably the season was shortened because of the players' stoppage, work stoppage? If they had played a full 162 games, Fred could relax. You know he's going to hit 3 over that 18-game stretch in all likelihood.
You'd like to think so. David Justice 0 for 2. He's lined out, bounced into a fielder's choice. Hitting .256 as he stands in. Malicki still throwing hard. This is outside 2-0. That to me is what's amazing about Fred's numbers last year, Pete. 113 games, he hit 34 homers. David bounces one to Rico Suave, who's got him, and a good inning from Malecki. Braves go in order in the 5th. We go to the bottom half of the inning. Don and Skip come your way. Braves are leading it 3-0.
Skip Carey, Don Sutton with you the rest of the way. Eddie Perez will start at first base as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Avery working on a 1-hitter. Braves lead it 3-0. Thompson the first one up here in the Mets half of the 5th inning. 3 runs, 6 hits, and no errors. No runs, a hit, and no errors. Popped up. Eddie Perez is going to get a try right away in foul territory, and he's got it. We had a shot of Fred McGriff. There he is. A look at Fred. Probably, unless he has one of those really spectacular days tomorrow, a very impressive string of 30 homers in a year, putting him in very select company, has come to an end.
And once again, you can blame the strength. 162 games, he'd have a great shot at it, but a long shot now.
Kelly Stinnett is going to pinch hit for Malecki. All in all, not a real bad outing for Malecki. Stinnett out of state of Oklahoma. There's some nice stuff written in today's paper about the Mets catching. They're very pleased with the work that Todd Hundley has done. They've been pleased with what Stinnett has done. But there was also some speculation here in New York, 0-2, that if the Braves decide not to bring Charlie O'Brien back next year, that he would be welcome right here back in this ballpark, because he has a lot of fans in the Mets organization. A little liner. Nice play, Chipper Jones. That looked like he was headed for a base hit, but Chipper up the ladder and 2 gone. That's 7 in a row set down by Avery.
He almost drops this ball after he makes an outstanding play. Times it perfectly, but then whoops, has to cradle it against the breadbasket to make the play. Speaking of nice things in the newspaper, congratulations. You're going to be writing a column during the playoffs in the Atlanta Constitution.
As long as they keep playing. Here's a strike to Alex Ochoa. Okay.
No, congratulations.
Oh.
That's good.
I get used to waiting for the other shoe to drop with you. That's how to play, and it's 0-2.
Any income supplement is okay with me, buddy. I'm happy for you. And for Pete, congratulations to him. He's going to get to do the first round of the playoffs on the Baseball Network, either our game or the Reds. He doesn't know yet. But
Pete's a little like us. We're not sure where we're headed tomorrow night, and neither is he.
he might be with us. He might not, but he's very deserving, and we're happy for him.
1 ball, 2 strikes. And working with Larry Durker, right?
I believe so, yeah.
That'll be a good combination.
Right-hander and a left-hander.
Down low, 2 balls and 2 strikes to Alex Ochoa, one of the key figures in the trade with the Baltimore Orioles that sent Bobby Bonilla over to Baltimore. That's foul. Still 2-2.
What are you going to be writing about?
Probably a lot to do with the Braves. And whoever, looks like Jason Schmidt's going to come on, and whoever they play.
You going to tape it yourself?
Type it? I knew there was another shoe coming
No,
somewhere.
I'm just trying to figure out. You're so close-mouthed about it. You should be very proud. A Pulitzer might be right around the corner. Roxanne.
On the ground towards second. Mordecai is there. Another good outing, another good inning for Avery and the Braves. The Mets go 1-2-3. Avery has now set down 8 in a row. We have played 5. And the score is the Braves 3. Mets nothing.
Knew it. Here's the Budweiser game summary.
I would think that since this is the last time you're going to do this year, you would have put a little more feeling and a little more emotion into that.
That's as much as I could muster. There was your Budweiser game summary. Brought to you by Bud.
We go to the top of the 6th. The Mets will go to the bullpen. That's Blas Minor. He is going to come on. You see his numbers. The league only hitting .253 against him. He's averaging almost a strikeout an inning. He's a guy that's modeled a few uniforms, too. But the Mets like him, and there's a good chance he'll be a part of this pitching staff next year. Dwight Smith is going to hit. So Ryan Klesko's day is over. This is taking on all of the little liner to center. And a leadoff single for Dwight Smith. And that's going to be it for Steve Avery, too. That took place right after the half inning. Another good outing for Avery. Only a couple of runs allowed. Guess I must have missed that.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's good. Dwight Smith has been in left field for 2 innings, but he is hitting where Avery used to hit. I mean, where Klesko used to hit. Here's Charlie O'Brien. Charlie going to try something new. Going to try to lay down a bunt. I wonder if he and Mark Hirschbeck are on better terms now.
I don't think there will be Christmas cards exchanged.
He and Hirschbeck were. What's going to be interesting to see which way the call goes if there's one very close to the corner against Charlie. That's in the air to left field. Shallow left. Vizcaína's got a bead on it. And that'll take care of O'Brien and bring up Jeff Blauser. Jeff Blauser is probably one in the lineup who will stay in longer than the others, very simply because he is trying to get his touch back. The Braves would like to see him finish this week on a upswing.
He was out here about a half hour before everybody else taking BP today. The guy's trying. You got to give him credit for that.
And it hasn't affected him defensively. He is still making good plays in the field. Takes a strike, and it's 0-1. Luis Polonia on deck. We showed you Avery being congratulated for a good outing, so Polonia, unless Blauser grounds into a double play, will bat for Avery. 3-0, top of the 6th inning.
Only score we got for Georgia fans, not a good one. They're down 31-0 to Alabama.
Right at Vizcaino, but they'll not double up Dwight Smith. So Blauser hit it right on the nose. That's 3 times today. Jeff has had good swings, but only 1 hit to show for it. 2 gone, and here comes Polonia.
Hitting, number 17, Luis Polonia.
Can't tell by watching Blauser whether he's 3 for 3, 4 for 4, or 0 for 5. Polonia at 265. 7 out of 16 as a pinch hitter. Fouls away the first one. No balls and 1 strike. We want to congratulate Bruce Bochy. He has done a fine job with the San Diego Padres, and they picked up an option for another year, and Bruce will be managing that ball club next year. Out of play, 0-2.
Well, we don't know who the general manager will be, do we?
No, I think there have been rumors apparently that Randy Smith has resigned, but I believe I read nothing official yet.
No, it's very much up in the air, I guess.
San Diego, if they can win the last 2, have a chance of finishing at 500. It's a good year. Polonia doesn't get it. Hundley will have to throw him out. He does. So after the leadoff single by Dwight Smith, O'Brien, Blauser, and Polonia go 1, 2, 3. We'll move to the bottom of the 6th inning. It's still the Braves 3. Mets nothing. Bottom of the 6th inning. The Braves leading at 3-0. Steve Avery's day is over. He pitched himself a 1-hitter for 5 innings. Jason Schmidt will come on. Bobby Cox has been using the bullpen quite frequently for the last week, getting about an inning. You see Schmidt's numbers. Most of the runs allowed by Jason Schmidt came as he was used in relief roles early in the year when the Braves had the expanded pitching staff. In 2 games, he gave up 4 earned runs early in the year. He had himself a good year with Richmond.
Hey, what was the answer to the Aflac question? Raleigh Fingers?
Vizcaino to lead it off. Takes ball 1 upstairs.
It was a good question. Only Hall of Famer with a losing record. Pal is ending his year at a high note.
In the air to right field. Long run for David Justice. And he can't get it. Vizcaino will hustle it into a double. Vizcaino crossed up the defense. They weren't expecting him to pull Jason Schmidt. Justice was a long way toward right center. So it's a leadoff double for the Mets.
Yeah, if he's played in his normal position, he catches this easily, but he had an acre to run and came up a little short. Even if he catches that ball on the hop, it's still a double. Ball was in the air a long time.
So Vizcaino stands at second, and Everett is the hitter. Everett 0 for 1, a walk and a strikeout. A bit of an unusual hitting style. Out of play, 0-1. Everett looks like a guy that has had trouble with inside pitches because of the way he holds the bat. So instead of changing his hands and his grip, he's opened the stance up. Watch how he holds the bat wrapped up there. He's going to have trouble with inside fastball. Or outside ones if they're put there. It's 0-2. They shade him toward the left field side. Dwight Smith very close to the line in left field. Hanging breaking ball hit into center. Vizcaino is going to try to score. Here comes the throw, and in sliding on the throw, Everett will go down to second. So it's an RBI single, and Everett moves to second on the throw. That might have been a throw that should have been cut off.
I don't think we had a cutoff man there, Don. It was a hanging curveball up about letter high. Devereaux's throw is low. There's just, well, there was a guy there to cut it off, but he didn't cut it off.
Vizcaino's speed, you had very slim chance. When you're leading 3-0, what you want to do is prevent a big inning. And now the Mets have another runner in scoring position. Jeff Kent, the hitter, he is 0 for 2. Outside, 1-0.
In fairness to Eddie Perez, he's a catcher playing first base, and that's probably why he didn't cut it off.
And the Mets front office and all the people here around the Mets very excited to see some enthusiasm generated by these young ball players. That's upstairs, and it's 2-0 to Kent. 3 runs, 7 hits for the Braves. A run on 3 hits for the Mets. 2 of those hits coming in this half inning. Good sized crowd here. A part of the fan appreciation games that have been scheduled by most ball clubs for the last weekend. On the ground, Chipper Jones saves a run, but it'll be an infield single. 3 hits in a row by the Mets. Potential tying run standing right there at first base.
This ball gets there in a hurry. Chipper, I don't think he throws him out even if he makes the play, but he did prevent a run from scoring.
So the Mets have him at the corners. Still nobody out. O'Brien out to talk to Jason Schmidt. Braves are going to bring the infield in, at least at first and third. Nobody throwing in the Braves bullpen. This inning belongs to Jason Schmidt. And a tough out, Rico Brogna, the hitter. Brogna 0 for 2, a fly to center, and he struck out swinging. Avery got him on a pitch up out of the strike zone. Ball 1 outside. Brogna, one of the best in the league at hitting with runners on third. He's hitting over 400. He doesn't get that one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Any update on the Georgia score?
Yeah, it's over 31 zip.
1-1 to Brogna. Off the fist, down the left field line, and it's 1-2. Brogna originally signed by the Tigers, but the Mets got him back at the end of spring training last year. The Mets sent one of their prospects who hadn't panned out, Alan Zinter, to the Tigers to get him. Inside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Speaking of the Tigers, apparently they have called a press conference
Tomorrow, or Monday.
for Monday, and all speculation is that Sparky Anderson will step down. Full count to Rico Brogna. One of the all-time winningest managers in baseball, George Sparky Anderson. What a good guy.
I wonder where he'll wind up.
Payoff pitch to Brogna. Stays alive, still 3-2. I don't know. So you're thinking he might wind up working for somebody else, huh?
I would think so. I don't know if he'll be able to manage again, but I would think he says he wants to stay in the game.
Pitch to Brogna, hammered to right field. Justice is not going to get it. Everett will score. They'll stop Ken at third, An RBI double for Brogna. They're at second and third. Still nobody out. It's 3-2.
He went down and got it. Not a bad pitch, really. But again, we had him defense wrong. We didn't play him to pull.
Bullpen activity for the Braves now as Leo Mazzoni makes his way to the mound. Brad Klontz is throwing. And Brad Woodall. Well, that's Toby.
Toby or not Toby? That is the question.
It is he.
Toby.
C. Vizcaíno led it off with a double. Everett an infield single. Kent single. And then Brogna has double. 4 hits in a row of Jason Schmidt. And the Braves lead in jeopardy. Tying run at third. Go ahead run 180 feet away at second. And Todd Hundley is the hitter. Hundley, the switch hitter, will bat left-handed against Jason Schmidt. Braves will play the infield in at the corners. Blauser and Mordecai back. Outside 1-0. One ball, one strike. Hundley fouls it away. 1-2. Charlie O'Brien again out to talk to his pitcher. Looked like Jason Schmidt was walking away before Charlie finished delivering the message.
Another base hit. He might be walking away for the afternoon.
They play him straight away in the outfield. Justice playing him to pull in right field. Mordecai over toward the hole at second base. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Hundley stays alive. Still 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. Hundley with 15 homers. Some scores starting to come in. One that has great significance in the Western Division race and in the wild card race. In the air and deep to right field. That's going to score a run. Justice can't catch it. We'll see how they score it. But Kent has scored. We got a tie ball game. David Justice got turned around.
The wind fooled him here. It's blowing in. Hundley hit it well, and David just got too far back. It's an error, a sacrifice fly, and an RBI.
And a tie ball game, and runners still at second and third with nobody out. And Edgardo Alfonso, the hitter. Smith's first one is upstairs, 1-0. So it has not been a good inning for the Braves.
David Justice has run about 1.5 miles out there in this inning alone.
Every place the Braves position him, the hitters have been hitting it about 150 feet away from him. Up the middle, that'll score 2. Bronya comes home. Hundley scores. The Mets take the lead. It's 5-3. 2 RBIs for Edgardo Alfonzo. And that might be the end of the day for Jason Schmidt.
The old infield in trick. Once it got by Schmidt, nobody had a chance.
So Jason Schmidt doesn't get anybody out. He gives up 5 hits, a sacrifice fly. All 5 of the runs have been charged to him. Braves are going to go to a bullpen. We'll be right back. Not a good inning for Jason Schmidt. The Mets put a 5 spot on, still have a runner on. And Brad Klontz will come on. That's Jim Beecham. The reason we want to have him on there is, I got to tell you, every now and then we make mistakes, and I want to correct one I made in St. Louis going back to the 19th of August. Maybe you'll remember. It was, dairy night there? And we said it was a bad night for the Braves because they lost the corn tossing contest. That was Toby and Mordecai. We said that Charlie O'Brien lost the calf feeding contest. We also said that Jim Beecham lost the milking contest. He did not lose it. He won it. That is 29 consecutive years that Jim Beecham has won the milking contest. And I just want to set the record straight. Here's Brad Klein.
Cubs have tied Houston 4-4, bottom of the 3rd. And the contest was in Cincinnati, wasn't it?
Was it in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was in St. Louis. Well, I got part of the record straight. We got the winner. Good thing we don't have a rebuttal coming up on Monday, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm glad Beach was able to nip those Cincinnati guys and get a win.
Here's Thompson. No balls and 1 strike. It's Klont's 58 appearance. 53 strikeouts in 67 innings. The league hitting .270 against him.
That was utterly disastrous if you would have that wrong.
No, he did, but I wanted to get it right since he squeezed out a win. But he doesn't get it. 0-2.
Makes today's things pale by comparison.
They're tied in Chicago. Houston broke on top, but Chicago has come back to tie it at 4-4.
Got to give the Cubs a lot of credit, boy. They're the only team playing well down the stretch.
The right field, long run for Justice. It's going to get back into the crowd. Still no balls and 2 strikes.
Cubbies have won 8 in a row.
Doesn't it seem like every year, though, there is one team that once you get to September, they can do nothing about it? They put together a good streak.
Well, they still got a chance. It's slim, but they've still got a chance.
Well, they need to win today and tomorrow and have all the other parties lose. It's 5-3 here. Braves took a 3-0 lead to the bottom of the 6th inning. The Mets have put a 5 spot on the board. Still nobody out. Chopper to 3rd. Tricky hop for Chipper Jones. He might wish now he had used the glove on that one. That's a tough error for Chipper Jones.
Yeah, I think if he makes the play with his glove, he gets him.
2 errors in the inning. Still nobody out. Alfonzo moves up 90 feet. Thompson is at first, and Joe Orsulak is going to bat. Orsulak's done a good job for the Mets as their 4th outfielder. They'd like him back next year. Word is that they want to meet with him as soon as the season's over, maybe sign him to a new contract. He doesn't get the first one, and it's 0-1. Outside, 1-1. He's the 8th hitter in the inning. The Mets' first 7 have all reached base, some at the expense of that man right there, Jason Schmidt, a couple on errors. One ball, 2 strikes. Shadows are starting to move out across the home plate area. You would think that it'd be tough on the hitters right now because they are in the shadows and the pitchers out there in the bright sun, but it's worked just the opposite for the Mets hitters. Stays outside, and it's 2-2.
If we never get an out in this inning, we'll never see our families again, will we?
It's a pretty big weekend. We were talking about what the Cubs have done. They still have a shot at that wild card spot. The Mets have a shot at finishing 2nd in the division. On the ground, through. Alfonso will score. 8 up, 8 on base, 6-3 the score. And an RBI for Orsulak.
Just hits it where it's pitched. Wee Willie Keeler said it first, hit them where they ain't. And that's what the Mets have been doing.
9th hitter in the inning, Alex Ochoa. 3 ground outs to show for his day's work. Grounded to first, grounded to third, grounded to second.
Come to think of it, the way our defense is going, they can hit them where they are and they still get on base.
Ochoa, a long look down to Mike Cubbage coaching at third. Thompson at second, Orsulak at first. Braves think he might be bunting. He is. It's foul, 0-1.
Chipper Jones, 7 first half errors, 18 second half errors.
Six runs, 7 hits for the Mets. 3 runs, 7 hits, and 2 big errors for the Braves, both coming this inning. Doesn't get it, and it's 0-2. Question was posed, why would he be bunting here? But I think Dallas Green is managing this month of the season with the Mets as though it were April of next year.
And he may have missed a sign. Now Cubbage just called him down the third base line and he's going to tell him, I signaled for El Bunto.
That's right. And that could be a Dallas Green call. If he puts it down, puts the sign down, and you don't miss it, it's the time to tell him right then. Saw Bobby Wine on Dallas Green's right, your left, flashing some signs out.
Cubbies now 6-4 over Houston, still batting in the third. They're amazing.
That'll do it. First out of the inning, and it comes after 8 consecutive Mets had reached base. The strikeout of Ochoa. 1 gone. Now the 10th man to hit in the inning, Jose Vizcaino.
He gave up on that one a little too early.
Vizcaino started all the activities with a double. He eventually scored the first run of the day. He's up to 287. In the air, should be playable for Devereaux. Thompson back to tag, but he's not going anywhere. 2 outs.
Center fielder Carl Everett.
2 gone for Carl Everett. Everett a walk, a strikeout, and a single, an RBI, and a run scored. Nobody was there. That was just a little move to keep Thompson close at second. First one is outside, and it's 1-0. One and one. lot of people in baseball talking about this Mets ball club in Dallas Green. A lot of baseball people very happy to see Dallas Green get signed for next year and Joe McIlvaine for a couple of years, because they have done a good job of putting together a young ball club here that is playing well, second best record since the All-Star break in the National League, and a ball club that has become exciting for Mets fans to watch.
I'm glad he got rehired because he's a man's man. He tells you exactly what he thinks.
Yep.
You always know where you stand, and those kind of people should not be punished for being honest.
So Klontz finally gets the side out, but after the Mets put 6 on the board on 2 for 6 hits, they leave 2 stranded. We have played 6 as we move it to the 7th inning. It's the Mets on top, 6-3 the score. Three changes. Joe Orsulak has come on to play right field. Third pitcher of the day for the Mets will be Jerry DePota. And with the play-by-play, Skip Gary.
Thank you very much.
A couple of dollars. You had green in the plane
I
race.
had the green airplane. Boy, what a thrill. Hits just keep on coming. Everybody paid except Galeman. Some things never change. Jerry DePota on the pitch. Blas Minor worked an inning, struck out 1, allowed a hit. So DePota is on.
There's your down payment.
In change. What a degenerate. Thanks, Hal.
Paid you quarterly, didn't he?
The pitch to Devereaux. Swung and missed. Don't worry, boys. There'll be another airplane race tomorrow. You'll have a chance to get your money back. 0-1 the count. Downstairs.
I don't think it's nearly as exciting as the LoJack car race in Atlanta.
I like that. I got one of those low jack things for what's her name's car. Swung and missed. It's 1-2. Devereaux singled in a run, stole a base, his only trip to the plate. 6-3 the score. The Mets have the lead. Devereaux fights it off. One and 2 the count. Houston hits in the 4th, trailing the Cubs 6-4. San Francisco, Colorado scoreless after 2.5. 2-2 the count. The last thing he wants to do is walk him. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Key inning in this ballgame to this point was a half-inning pitch by Blas Minor. Gave up a leadoff single to Dwight Smith.
Devereaux is put away, 1 down.
And then got out O'Brien, Blauser, and a pinch hitter. And that was at a time when the Braves, with that leadoff single, a couple more hits, could have put this one out of reach. But it allowed the Mets to only be 3 down, to come back and to have some hope. And they got a 6th spot. Now they lead it.
DePota came over here with Malicki and Paul Bird and Jesus Azuaje for outfielder Jeremy Burnitz and pitcher Joey Roa back in November of '94. Strike called, inside corner, 0-1.
See, that's some of those. That's one of those trades you see made a lot of time to shuffle people from roster to roster. And then all of a sudden, if you're lucky, you get a couple of guys who will come out of that deal and do a good job for you. And that's what's happened to the Mets.
All 3. Bird has pitched well for them in relief. Malicki has been a serviceable starting pitcher, and DePoto's done all right. This guy out of Jersey City, New Jersey. Makes his home now in North Olmsted, Ohio.
what he's on either gets strikeouts or a lot of ground ball outs. Pitches down in the strike zone, a sinking fastball.
Here you got Mordecai looking, 2 down. Both strikeouts.
Third baseman Chipper Jones.
Chipper Jones, the batter. John Smoltz and Jason Isringhausen tomorrow in the final regular season game, and then we'll wait. Threw the fastball right by him, 0-1. Fan Appreciation Day here, pretty good crowd, 23,000, I would guess. Little looper down the left field line, trouble if it's fair, and it is, into the corner, and Chipper on his way to second. He'll make it without a throw. His first hit of the day, a 2-out double.
First baseman
Eddie Perez will be the batter, and we're going to get a pinch runner. Ed Giovanola will run for Jones.
Running for Chipper Jones, number 30, Ed Giovanola.
New York's got about 3 million Italians, and everybody can't pronounce his name up here. They've got him Gavinola and Givanola, and Eddie Perez the batter. Strike called, inside corner, 0-1. Perez's mom was all upset down in Venezuela when Carlos Perez was arrested in Atlanta. The news got down there that a Perez was in trouble in Atlanta, and they were afraid it was Eddie. He's in trouble here, but of a far different kind. He's behind in the count, 0-2. Runner at second, 2 out. High pop, short right. Orsolak comes on, still coming. He's got it, and the inning is over. 1 hit, but no runs. No errors, a runner left. Bottom of the 7th inning with your score: New York 6, Atlanta 3. We go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. Pat Corrales is shaking his head at that. That's Mr. Met, the fun-loving Met. This Mr. Red and Chester Charge and the San Francisco Crab are the worst mascots in baseball history.
That one right there just proves that Mr. Red made road trips.
You say you saw him,
I
not
saw
Pat,
him last,
but Mr. Met on 57th Street last night?
57th Street last night, walking just that way.
Ed Giovanola is staying in the game to play third base. Pedro Bourbon is on to pitch.
I had forgotten about Mr. Crab in San Francisco.
Oh, they threw batteries at him, and meanwhile, we're ready to go here. Kent against Bourbon, takes it low. 1 ball, no strikes. Colorado's taken a 1-0 lead over the Giants. The Cubs and Houston now tied 6-6.
If I were Colorado, I'd like their positioning as far as time of the game. You can go ahead and put a score on the board before LA plays against San Diego tonight.
3-0 to Kent.
And anybody that tells you that they don't watch the scoreboard in situations like that is being a little less than honest with you.
3-1. Three balls and a strike. Kent is aboard, 1 away. rather one on, nobody away. And Rico Brogna is the batter.
First baseman Rico.
Colorado has added a run. It's 2-0 now, bottom of the third. They're still batting.
I remember last year when our buddy Ernie Johnson pointed out to us that this kid right here was for real.
The stretch. Curve sweeps outside, 1 ball, no strikes. If Houston loses that game, the Dodgers have clinched a spot in the playoffs. Either wild card or Western Division winner. All I know is the teams with the best records don't know where they're going, and the teams with the worst records start at home, and that makes absolutely no sense. A ball and 2 strikes. The pitch. Curve sweeps outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Goes upstairs and gets Brogna 1 away. Yankees now lead Toronto 5-1 in the 8th.
Todd Hundley.
Here's Hundley. He has doubled, struck out, driven in a run with a sacrifice fly. Runner at first, 1 down. Bottom half of the 7th inning. Almost hit him. 1 ball, no strikes. Georgia lost to Alabama in college football 31-0. Hundley stands back in there. And rips one down the left field line. That's into the corner. May score a run. Kent is racing for third. They are going to hold him there. Dwight did a good job of getting it back in. Runners at second and third. Second double of the day for Hundley. And Edgardo Antonio Alfonso will be the batter.
Gets a breaking ball coming into him, or a fastball coming into him, pulls it in the corner. You're right, Dwight does a good job of playing it off the wall, but comes up throwing and misses the cutoff man. This is where you're really glad that you have a picket line set up over there. You had Blauser, who was the cutoff man, but Mordecai was there just in case. And once that ball got over Blauser, if Mordecai hadn't have been there, good chance the runner could have scored.
They're going to put Alfonso on and pitch to Ryan Thompson, who had a grand slam against the Braves a year ago, and will have a chance to do so again. Remember, he hit the home run off Smoltz, and then Smoltz hit Cangelosi, and then we had all sorts of fun here. Ball 3 is outside, and as day follows the night, here comes ball 4. Thompson has walked, popped out, and reached on an error. Leo Mazzoni to the mound. More loud, meaningless noise from the public address system here.
That's a good time to come out there. I think that a lot of times trips to the mound are meaningless, but right now this is a good time, because what you really want to encourage him to do is throw some strikes to this guy, but not give him anything off speed that he can handle. Remember, you have a big out right now is Thompson, because you have Orsulak on deck. That's a left-handed hitter that could get you out of the inning. And I think the key pitch to Thompson is going to be the first pitch that you throw him. Did you hear me okay?
What? So Thompson stands in there. He has 7 homers on the year, 31 RBI. 0 for 2 today. No place to put him. 1 ball, no strikes.
And he's one of those guys that players call, or baseball people call, a cripple shooter. You get behind in a count, he hits a 2-0, 3-1 pitch.
High pop will reach the seats. It's 1-1. And the fans battle for the souvenir. A ball and a strike. Down and in. 2 balls and a strike. Bourbon wanted that pitch.
Colorado has taken a 3-0 lead.
Chase may be a bad ball upstairs, but a good pitch by Bourbon. He had good mustard on it. It's 2-2.
If you make a mistake on him, that's where you want to do it. You'd kind of like to get him to chase one upstairs. He is a better low ball hitter. He's better when he can extend his arms, and he is a good breaking ball hitter.
Up the middle might be a double play. 6, 4, 3. Got him. Inning over. Mordecai got buried down there at second base, but he got the ball away in time to turn it over. So just what the doctor ordered, and the intentional pass pays off. 1 hit. No runs, no errors, 2 left. We move to the 8th inning. 6-3 our score. Mets lead.
Time for a look at our Delta scoreboard in one of the games we've been telling you about, Houston and Chicago. Flat-footed tie, 5th inning. In Colorado, the Rockies have taken an early 3-0 lead. Of course, they led going to the 9th last night. Over in the American League, in a game that has wild card implications, it's the Yankees over Toronto, 5-1. That's a look at part of our Delta scoreboard. By the way, in that Houston game, Biggio and Bagwell back-to-back homers in the 1st inning.
David Justice leads off the 8th inning and takes a strike. On the other score, St. Louis leads Pittsburgh 5-0 after 6. Kansas City and Cleveland 2-2 in the 10th. Baltimore over Detroit 10-0 in the 7th. Boston 8-1 over Milwaukee in the 8th. All the other action, both leagues at night. Downstairs. A ball and a strike. He laid off 2-1. Each team has 8 hits. Braves have committed 2 errors. They both came in the 6th inning, as the Mets scored 6 times off Jason Schmidt in relief of Steve Avery, who pitched very well here. Jimmy Williams has to do a little dance to get out of the way. Tom Tobey up again in the Atlanta bullpen. Got him at the knees, outside corner. Boy, and Justice almost got hit right in the head. As he started his walk across home play, Hundley was firing the ball to third and just about got him from point-blank range. Dakota's 3rd strikeout.
And you were talking about how a guy like that who's done a good job for him, and one of the things that they want out of him in this setup role is just exactly what he's done. He has 3 strikeouts. He gave up a double, but he has come on and thrown strikes, got a big out right there with a perfect pitch to David Justice. That has become such a key role, the setup man.
Yeah, it's like medicine there. It's an age of specialization. Used to just have pitchers.
Right.
Now we got saves and holds and long relievers and setup men and closers and starters.
David Justice was complaining on the bench there that he had trouble seeing the ball. Now the pitcher and the hitter are in the shadows, and it's dark back in this area. Ball will flash through a shadow there, but it's almost like playing a twilight game if you're a hitter.
And you see some funny swings. It looked like Dwight didn't pick that ball up real well. There's just a little line of sunshine between the mound and the. There you see it.
I think that could,
to further complicate.
Yeah,
them.
I think that would only hurt you. It's certainly not going to help.
A little tap or foul. right off his foot. 2-2.
Houston,
So Dwight this time is singing the blues.
Houston has added another one, Skip. They lead it 7-6 as they hit in the top of the 5th.
Cubs have them right where they want them. Cubs want to be behind going to the 9th, but not by too much. He saw that one okay into center field. It's in for a hit. So Dwight is aboard. He's 2 out of 2 in the game. And Charlie O'Brien, the batter. Runner at first, 1 out. Strike called inside corner. Charlie hits one hard down the left field line. Fair ball into the corner. Dwight around third. They're going to hold him there because of the score of the game. And runners are at second and third with 1 out. 1-run game, you might gamble there, but down by 3, Jimmy Williams did the right thing. And Jeff Blauser comes to the plate, and DePoto is in trouble.
2 for 4 day for Charlie O'Brien. Gets himself a fastball right where he likes it, a little bit out in front. I have a feeling he has whistled a couple into that corner in his days here with the Mets. And the Braves trying to scratch back into this one.
Blauser the batter, and Mike Kelly is glad to grab the bat and moved on deck.
Blauser's only 1 out of 3, but he's had some good swings today, and I would think that's probably what he will take with him out of this ball game, rather than the number of hits. And a bruise he'll take with him.
So the bases are loaded, and the tying runs are aboard. Blauser hit by a pitch again.
What's that, about 13 times? He leads the club. I know he's in the top in the league.
12 times. So Mike Kelly comes to the plate. Activity now in the bullpen. Another right-hander up. Pavlik on his way to the mound. The Mets pitching coach. Belliard now runs at first base. And everybody but Javi Lopez has gotten into this game for Atlanta. Belliard checks in. Pavlik concludes his conversation and heads back to the dugout. Kelly at 193, 3 homers, 17 runs driven in. He's got good power. A long one here would put Atlanta back on top. Bases full of Braves with 1 out. One ball, no strikes. Just missed low, 2-0.
I think one of the 2 things that they wanted Mike Kelly to do when he went back to Richmond was learn some patience, and he has done that, but I don't think, well, he is not going to face Mr. DePoto for the last 2 pitches.
2 balls, no strikes. Dallas Green has seen enough. He's going to his bullpen. Doug Henry will get the call, and we'll be back to see how he does right after this.
A little rules violation taking place right now.
Confusion reigns supreme. That's right. Pavlik came out while the same hitter was at the plate.
Yeah, you can't come out during the same hitter right now. You got the John Franco trying to hold things up in the bullpen. But you can't. They're not going to bring him in any. Oh, Orsulak thought they were going to make a change, and he decided to visit the loo. Hello.
A little embarrassing. But
So Dipoto is going to have to face this hitter. You can't make 2 trips with the same
I
hitter.
thought maybe that was the rule, that if you make 2 trips on the same hitter, not only does the same guy have to pitch, but the right fielder can't play.
No, he has to go to the bathroom.
So the 2-0 to Kelly. 3 balls, no strikes. $21,659 paid here today. Let's get this year over with. Get to the playoff. A 3-0 pitch. Bases loaded, 1 out. There's the strike, 3-1.
That could have been a definite advantage for the Braves with only 2 outfielders.
The 3-1 pitch. 3-2. You know, if you really wanted him out of the game, you should just on the next pitch have him grab his arm like he's hurt and walk off.
Let me ask you now. What if he strikes out Kelly? Do they come take him out? He was out of there with 2-0 on Kelly.
Know. But I just hope Orsulak stays where he is. The 3-2 pitch will not be made. Dipoto steps off the mound. A runner at every base for Atlanta in the 3-2 pitch. Struck him out. Down 3-0. Kelly out on strike, second out of the inning. Mike Devereaux, the batter. Now let's see what Dallas Green does. Here comes Pavlik again. Orsulak stands firm in right field. He is not.
I like this. Dipoto's going to meet him. Orsulak stays pat.
And here comes Doug Henry. Do we do another break? We do. We'll keep an eye on things for you folks and be back right after this. So Henry comes on to pitch.
Here's what took place when they tried to make the other change. That's John Franco.
He looks like a New York bellman.
Hey, we got 1 in the loo. We can't play with 8.
Well, now let me ask you, if the Mets win this game, does Joe West get a save? How does this work?
Roster check by John Franco.
Henry completes his warm-up tosses. You see the situation here. Devereaux, 1 out of 2, singled in a run in the 4th, struck out in the 7th. Bats with the bases full of Braves, but now 2 out. Franco's day is never done. He counts the players, and now he warms up.
Now who's in charge of the restroom roster?
Let's see, I guess they would probably. Maybe Pete Walker will get that.
Our person.
Yeah, our every person. Yeah. Anyway, Devereaux bats, bases loaded, 2 outs. Houston 8-6 as the Cubs bat in the 5th. Colorado 3-0 Giants bat in the 5th. Well, there's one of the runs. It's 6-4. Henry got off to a good start, didn't he?
He throws a heavy sinking fastball. This one turns out to be about 59 feet. Bounces right over the shoulder of Hundley.
And here comes Dallas Green. He wants to put Dipoto back in. Just kidding. The pitch. Right in there this time. It's 1-1. It's a very strange inning. The 1-1 pitch. Made him look bad there. It's 1-2.
Yeah, you could say this is, if they get out of this jam, could have been an outhouse to Castle inning.
Into the dirt again. Great play by Hundley. I mean, an outstanding play there. It's 2-2.
He did that the way you're taught to do. Didn't really try to catch it, but just kind of slid over there. Watch the whole body go over and try to get in front of this. Tried to just kind of spread out with the glove and take it off the chest protector. That's what he did.
So Henry will try to can Devereaux with this 2-2 pitch. Little tapper to short, should end the inning, and does. So out of all that, Atlanta gets only 1 run on 2 hits. No errors, 2 left. We go to the bottom of the 8th. 6-4 New York.
Atlanta Braves baseball, brought to you by Beechwood Aged Budweiser. It's always been true. This Bud's for you.
We're going to the bottom of the 8th here. Before we do, there are some tickets left for the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, not the World Series. Locally, 249-6400 or 1-800-326-4000. And they're available at Gate G at the stadium as well. Some changes here for Atlanta. Mike Kelly checks into the game to play right field. Belliard is at shortstop now, and Tom Tobey on to pitch. He will face Joe Orsulak to lead it off. Here in the bottom of the 8th, Don Sutton, Skip Carey with you. Houston 8, the Cubs 7. The Cubs batting still in the bottom of the 5th inning. Colorado, however, leads the Giants 3-0. The wind and the pitch. High and outside, 1 ball, no strikes. .6-4 the score. Braves have out-hit them 10-8. Chris Jones will pinch it next for the pitcher, and John Franco will try to close the deal. Orsulak fouls it off his foot.
Colorado getting a good effort today out of a guy, a veteran who's been around a while and knows how to pitch in big games, Billy Swift.
Line drive, great diving play. Can he throw him out? No. Great effort by Mordecai. That'll be a hit. So Orsulak batting here in Flushing gets a hit to start the inning.
Second hit for Orsulak. Some good range by Mordecai. Caught the ball, couldn't keep his balance. Once he ended up on the seat of his pants, when it flipped off his fingers, he knew he had no chance. Got some good range.
We were talking earlier, nothing against Jeff Blauser, but let's face it, if he gets off to a slow start again next year, this guy might be challenging for that shortstop job.
The only thing he might have done, he might have hurt himself for one position in the big leagues by showing the Braves he can play, or showing major league ball clubs anywhere that he can play a number of positions. Doesn't complain, does the job, and does all of them very well.
You can see Jones has been tough at crunch time. Foul tips that one back, 0-1. Final game of the regular season tomorrow. Smoltz against Jason Isringhausen. We'll have it for you at 1:35. And then Pete and Joe will be over to give you the Budweiser game summary as well as the second half of the game. Throw to first, runner back. If Colorado hangs on to win that game, they eliminate the Cubs from any playoff possibility. 0-1 the count. Upstairs, a ball and a strike. Looking ahead to the Atlanta half of the inning. Mordecai, Giovanola, Perez, the scheduled hitters. High and outside. Tom Toby falls behind in the count, 2-1. Giants hit in the 5th, trailing Colorado 3-0. The Yankees won their game 6-1 over Toronto. So the Yankees have clinched a tie for the wild card berth. If the Yankees lose tomorrow, California wins tonight and tomorrow, they wind up tied. High drive, deep left center field. Devereaux, a long way to go. He's on the track. He can't get it. It bounces away, and runners will be at second and third. Battling the sun out there. Mike could not make the play. Second and third, nobody out. Chris Jones delivers a clutch pinch hit.
There's a lot of real estate out there, 410 feet to center. Kelly was playing fairly, or Devereaux was playing fairly shallow. Almost got to it, but I don't think he was really that sure how close he was to the wall. If you look at the warning track, it's a narrow warning track. So once you hit that, Orsulak doing a little of the Texas two-step at second, because he's got to figure out if he's going to tag up and go over. Or if he... Anyway, they're at second and third.
That's right, Don, and Jose Vizcaino is the batter. Second and third, nobody out. Infield in. Vizcaino hits a foul, 0-1. Vizcaino batting for about the 33rd time today, it seems like. But actually, he's only 1 for 3 with a walk. He scored a run, stolen a base. Toby cuts it loose. Almost hit him. A ball and a strike. The rangy left-hander again gets ready. 2 balls and a strike. Three and 1. Well, they've got the Midtown Tunnel closed to, it's a single lane of traffic each way. It looks like Triborough Bridge time today. The 3-1 pitch. Up the middle, base hit. 1 run is in. Jones, they're going to wave him. They got a chance to throw him out. Devereaux kicks it around. Both runs score. It's 8-4. Vizcaino now with 56 RBIs on the year. Still nobody out in the inning.
Hitters count. Got one right up the middle. Right back up the middle. Infield in. That's the price you pay. You got a chance of getting 1 out with the infield back. And I think they should give him 2 RBIs on that. It would have taken a perfect throw to get him at the plate anyway.
That's what they'll do. You see the line score on the game. It does not look good. If you promise to patronize our sponsors, you may walk your canine. If you'll be with us tomorrow. Battling the sun in right center field. Kelly makes the catch for the first down of the inning. And Jeff Kent, the batter, will be with you at 1:35 tomorrow. This is the football game tomorrow night, guys. The Raiders and the Jets right here at the Meadowlands tomorrow night on TNT, our sister station. Vern Lundquist, Pat Hayden will have that one for you, as pictured here. High pop foul back, 0-1.
Those 2 RBIs for Vizcaino give him a career high at 54.
And it was also, he was involved in a pregame ceremony where he was made the Met of the Year. He has had a heck of a year for the Mets. It's been a good deal for them to get him here.
Giants failed to score in the 5th. The Rockies bat leading 3-0. Kent fouls another one away. Now Franco has taken a seat, and a right-hander is up in the bullpen for New York, they may not use John now that it's no longer a save situation. Paul Bird is throwing in the pen for New York. A ball and 2 strikes. Made him look bad there. Second out of the inning. First strikeout for Toby. Here's Rico Brogna.
First baseman Rico Brogna.
Think I'll pass on that one.
That is not an art museum.
It's headed for Times Square, which, by the way, they've done a great job of cleaning up there.
Yes, they have. A lot of renovation, a lot of changes being made all over Manhattan.
And a lot of police presence in that Times Square area, which is good. That was some mean streets.
Got a great show for you if you're back up here with a night free.
I won't be. Throw to first, runner back.
It's called Smokey Joe's Cafe.
Yes, we talked about it at length last night.
Music from my era.
Have any talk show stuff?
Did they what?
I mean, do they have any talk show stuff in there? I don't listen to music. I listen to talk shows.
They had some stuff you could talk about.
I think I'll pass on that. Ball and a strike. One and 2. Runner at first, 2 out.
You're getting entirely too wrapped up in your work. You need a little variety in your life.
I just like to listen to Dr. Ruth, see how many people she can interrupt in a day. 2 balls, 2 strikes. No, Dr. What's her name? Not Dr. Ruth, Dr. Laura, the shrink type person.
She a sports psychologist?
No. Strike 3 call to Brogna, inning over, but not before the Mets scored 2 more on 3 hits and leave 1. And we go to the 9th with your score: New York 8, Atlanta 4. Paul Bird on the pitch and try to nail this one down for New York. 8-4 is our score. Some more really bad music here. You see the numbers on Bird for the year.
You know,
Mike Mordecai will lead it up.
we haven't seen a whole lot of Dallas Green in the dugout since the little fiasco with the second trip to the mound, and there is a reason for it because the rule says that's an automatic ejection. So Dallas was headed for the shower immediately afterwards. And Bobby Wine is HCIC, head coach in charge.
Dallas, of course, is lurking in the tunnel or watching Notre Dame and Ohio State, whichever comes first. Mordecai leads it off here. And doesn't catch up with a good fastball. 0-1. Nobody on, nobody out, 9th inning. A ball and a strike. Fouled back. 1-2 the count. Fan in a Mets cap and a glove made the play on that foul ball. Wearing a purple shirt from Stamford, Connecticut. The 1-2 pitch. Low and away. It's 2-2.
The amazing Kreskin.
The amazing part is true, but not for the reasons some think. The pitch is outside. 3-2 the count. Along with I.J. Sutton, Skip Carey with you from Shea Stadium. Mordecai fouls it back. Some people really get irritated about that advertising that some teams flash up behind home plate. If you don't like it, don't use those sponsors. It's simple.
Well, do you know what they've done a couple of times during this ball game? It could really bug you if you're a shortstop, second baseman, or a center fielder. Is they roll it right at the beginning of a pitch or right in the middle of a pitch.
There's a start. Mordecai draws a walk. Let's give him a finish here.
Third baseman Ed Giovanola.
Colorado has increased its lead to 4-0 over the Giants. If that holds up, it looks more and more like we're headed for Denver, but not necessarily. Depends on what happens with the Dodgers tonight. 0-1. Houston bats in the 6th. They lead the Cubs 8-7. Boy, their bullpen has to be exhausted. Houston, they used 9 pitchers 2 days ago.
Did you see the finish of that one yesterday in Chicago? Boy, the Cubs are really into it.
Yeah, they've had a great finish. That's good for their franchise. Giovanola waits and takes outside. Bird can't throw it over. 2-1 the count. By the way, first the 2-1 pitch. Double play ground ball. Out there. Safe there. Good hustle by Giovanola to beat the wrap at first.
That double play could have been made if Kent comes up and throws it overhand, but he gives a soft toss to Vizcaino. And Vizcaino is lucky that he didn't get knocked into left field. And the Braves are also lucky that that wasn't called a double play because Mordecai slid into shallow center field to try to get him.
To the mortification of the shortstop. Eddie Perez, the batter. Fly ball foul. Started to say there's no use beating the dead horse and criticizing baseball and the Baseball Network for only allowing you to see one playoff game. There was going to be enough outrage about that. Fans in the Southeast, by and large, are going to see the Braves in the playoffs, I'm sure. But for other Braves fans around the country, I want to point out that WSB Radio, the Braves key station in Atlanta, 750 on the AM dial, is heard in 38 states at night. So if wherever you are, you can't watch the Braves, you may be able to keep up with us on radio. 750 on the AM dial. 1-2 the count. And WSB will carry all the playoffs and all the World Series games. Fly ball, foul back. But it is hard to believe that they've contrived of a way to, oh well. 1-2 the count.
NBA has a neat way of getting around that.
Use a bunch of networks and get the games on the air. I don't know what good they think they're doing themselves by not showing games. I don't understand. I did manage to just spill water all over myself, though. Inside. Two balls, two strikes. One on, one out. Full count. Walk would be nice. Javi Lopez has moved on deck, meaning that everyone will have gotten a chance to play today, unless a double play is the situation here. Well hit, right center field. That's going to plug the gap all the way to the wall, and runners will be at second and third. So the Braves aren't done yet here.
if you're a youngster called up from the minor leagues, you just hope you get a chance. Usually in a pennant race, you just get to sit and watch and you're an insurance policy. But Eddie Perez may be one of those guys that's taken advantage of this. He may have earned himself a spot in the big league somewhere, not only defensively, but offensively, too. He has had some good at-bats. Took himself a pretty good pitch right there and hit it to right center field for a double. But don't be surprised to see Eddie Perez in the big league someplace next year.
Lopez, the batter. Franco up again in the bullpen. Second and third, one out. Braves have left 9 runners aboard today. They have 11 hits. Javi can't catch up to that. Lopez 1 out of 10 as a pinch hitter is all. Foul back this way.
Incoming.
Colorado looks like a lock now. A ball and 2 strikes. Got it. Breaking ball. Bird records his first strikeout.
Good pitch at a good spot. He wants it down and away. He does get a lot of the plate, but it's a late break and it's low in the strike zone. That's a good pitch. He's shown a good live fastball, and he has also shown a good sharp breaking ball. He's averaging better than a strikeout an inning since getting used more and more.
Now Pavlik is on his way to the mound. They're going to go to the bullpen and give Franco a chance for a save here, it looks like. And it may be a double switch. Tim Bogar is going to come into the game as well. And we'll be back right after this. Tim Bogar checks in to play second base. John Franco is on to pitch, and Dwight Smith will be the hitter. Runners at second and third, now 2 out in the 9th inning.
I think what the Mets are doing is that they're treating this like their pennant drive. They've gotten used to winning. They have the second best record in the National League since the All-Star break. So that's why you see that it is not a meaningless game to them. They have a shot at finishing second in division, and they're playing it that way.
And they got a chance. If Franco can get a save today and tomorrow, he'll have 30 saves, and that would be a personal goal that I know he would enjoy.
And it may be just a small amount, but second place in the division is worth some money. And to a lot of guys, you know, that means a lot. I just think there is something to battle for, and that's why you see this ball game being managed as though it were a pennant drive ball game.
And why not? The people paid the money to watch a major league ball game. They ought to see him try to win. So Franco completes his warm-up tosses. Each team has 11 hits in the contest. 8-4 rather is the score. Mets on top 8-4. But the tying run is on deck, and that qualifies Franco for a save. When does your column start? Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Don't be stealing any of my Chop Talk columns now, please.
I hate it when you have ESP like that.
Dwight 2 out of 4 in his career against John Franco. Steve Rank 0-1. Smith 2 out of 2. He scored a run.
There could be a generation gap with a guy like Franco and all the youngsters, but everything we hear is that he has become a real plus, a real leader in the clubhouse, and a good guy to have on a young ball club.
Leader in the clubhouse. I've heard that phrase a lot this year. 1-1 to count. Charlie O'Brien waits on deck. And Franco delivers. And it's well hit into left field, but playable. And Thompson has it, and the ball game is over, and Franco has a save, and the Mets have another win. 1 hit. No runs, no errors, 2 left. 8-4 the final. Totals and highlights will come, but first the player of the game will be brought to you.
Our AutoZone player of the game is Edgardo Alfonso. He had a couple of RBIs. They came at a key time. He was 1 for 3. He's our AutoZone player of the game.
He's player of the game.
Now, after this timeout, we'll be back to total it up.
Atlanta Braves baseball, brought to you by Delta Airlines, the official airline of the 1996 Olympic Games. And by Aflac, covering the unexpected cost of getting well. Aflac, insuring over 38 million people worldwide.
Mets make it 2 in a row over the Braves, winning this one 8-4. 8 runs, 11 hits, no errors, and 9 stranded for the Mets. The Braves 4 runs, 11 hits. They committed 2 errors. They stranded 11. Blas Minor gets the win. He's 4-2. Not a good outing for Jason Schmidt. He's 2-2. John Franco got the final out, his 21st